Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. It's a Monday. We have Grumpy, and he's grumpier than ever. And I am your host, as always, often imitated but never duplicated, especially not by the Polish Prince over here. And the Polish Prince is with us. What's going on, man?
Not much. I kind of am hurt by that a little bit. I thought that I could have done, and I did, the best possible Timotchin impersonation that there ever will be in the history of the morning show. But so be it. Here I am on the other side of the chair, and yeah, I am ready to just talk about the same dumb shit that's been going on over the last 5 weeks.
Oh man, yes. I mean, looking at the headlines, I was like, "Oh my God!" It's like we're signing the entire Real Madrid midfield or something, and we're waiting on it. Is like how Lavia has become what the entire season hinges on. It feels like at this point is kind of like ridiculous. So, do
We
you want to
finally,
start with the headlines, or do you have some party to go to?
I was I was gonna say we finally found something slower than our midfield last year, and it was the fucking signing of Romeo Lavia. Apparently, I have something to share with the folks here in the morning show that have been so kindly with us over the whole summer, and I understand that there were promises that were made, and
Oh,
I didn't forget about them. I didn't forget. So here's the thing, though. Some things have changed, and in light of the world and where it's at, uh, unfortunately, Fabrizio is the first one that's going to break it here. So here we go. Understand the Polish prince has agreed to sell the club, Dingus FC, to an undisclosed Saudi Arabian figure. Name and concept of this grassroots club will most likely change. Fee undisclosed. I can't say much more than that, you guys. Other than I'm sorry that I couldn't make it done for you. And if I ever get the chance or the money to bring this club back, I will bring it back for you all, and we'll be able to see it at some point in the future. So
I mean, all the values of Dingus FC just being sold out to Southern Nation for money is extremely disappointing. Extreme. All the summer you went around bragging about it on all the rights. You just another Henderson the second over here.
I mean, if you only knew the amount of money, you wouldn't
The weekly wages you'll be getting out of this. Yes,
you wouldn't question my decision one
I
bit.
have only one question about the money. Is it generational wealth?
For my generation, yeah.
Oh, okay. Just one
Just
generation.
mine.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Oh man, maybe if you with that money you can throw a couple of million Liverpool's way, and we can see what we're doing there. So I was gonna put this and share the screen from Echo, but Echo, if you guys are looking at it online as well, has become like a I don't know. I mean, for those of us, I've heard if you do live streams online, there's all like these sites with a bunch of pop-ups and stuff, and not, that's what I hear. That's the word on the streets. And yeah, Echo has become one of those sites. Between 85 pictures and 16 pop-ups, there's like a 2 paragraphs of content hidden in there. So let's start with the big news. I guess let's start with yesterday's. I think this was like talked mostly about yesterday and this morning. This is only like 3 hours ago, actually. Um, Mo. Mo's like yesterday. There was like, oh, what if they come up with like a bid? The Saudis are interested and stuff. Like hide your women and children and star players. The Saudis are coming, kind of a thing. And yes, so they were coming for Mo. Criticism. That's good morning. And but the agent comes this morning because we trust agents 100% to everything they say, and says if you wanted to leave, we wouldn't sign an extension last year, which was the most like comical thing an agent can say because these guys would be more than willing to negotiate contracts every freaking summer or every 3 months. But so I guess my question to you is, what was your initial response when you heard there was a lot of chatter on like the Discord and stuff like that too? But what was your initial response when they were like, the Saudis are coming for Mo, kind of a thing?
The very first second, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then right away, I was like, "Okay, let's take a step back." And I feel like his agent is one of the few that is so vocal about all of his work on Twitter. He came out right away and was saying this and that. You don't really typically see that from agents, but he's
Yeah.
weirdly transparent and weirdly cryptic. Whenever it suits him. So I understand that there is most likely a lot of interest for Mo, being the Muslim figure that he is, and that's understandable. I don't think, to some of the point in the discourse that we had, I think Mo feels like there's still a lot of work left to be done for him personally at a very professional and competitive level. I think if the Saudi Arabian League holds on for another few years, I think that offer will still be there for him in a couple of years. So I don't think he necessarily would lose a lot. If it won't be, $90 million a year, it might be $60 million a year or something like that, right? So it's still going to be enough for the generational wealth. So I think, given where he's at with the club right now, I do believe it's genuine when his agent's saying that there's reasons he wanted to stay at Liverpool. But there should be an asterisk, but in a couple years, maybe we'll revisit this.
Yeah, Sergi says he's definitely gone at the end. Is gonna leave at the end of the season. FSG will sell him next year. So yeah, when I first heard the news, I was like, here we go again. But I felt like what we would ask for him would be too obnoxious to not happen right now. And that's where I go with like what Sergi is saying. I agree that it can happen next summer, because we'll be able to plan better. This is not kind of like a Hando deal where we were like, well, you got to give some money though. How about 10 grand or something like that? And then, we got something. I understand Mo is like a very driven dude. And I know, none of these guys really need the money, if you will. But he's a very driven dude, based on like what I hear from interviews, things that he says and stuff like that. So I can understand not wanting to go now. But what do you think? Like Mo says, like, I got unfinished business here. Like, what is his unfinished business? Or do we just say that to ourselves? Like, oh, he's got unfinished business here. He's won the Champions League. He's won the league.
He hasn't won the Europa.
Tim. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Come on. Why does everyone keep forgetting? The Europa League has not been won yet. Guys, this is huge. It's a huge trophy to win. It's the biggest trophy in Europe right now this year. Biggest trophy in Europe.
So he can say, I won the lot on his way out?
Yes,
basically.
Absolutely. I think John and I spoke last week about Mo potentially leaving. And I mentioned that I believe that this year is very crucial. I think if they're able to qualify for Champions League at the end of this year, I think he'll give it one more shot next year. So he needs to be back in the Champions League. I think if we miss out on Champions League again, then he's gone for sure, in my mind. And that doesn't mean he's going to Saudi Arabia straight away.
Play in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, well, not even that, but maybe he could go to a club to play in the Champions League for another year or two and then go to Saudi Arabia still. Because we saw Benzema, he won the Ballon d'Or at 34. Like, there's still Mo's 31, right? So he still has a few years left, and with the physical condition he's in, like he looks like he's still 25 essentially, physically. So I feel like he has a few years left. It doesn't have to be in the Saudi league. So I think it really comes down to how this year ends up finishing to then understand if we will see him again or if we will not.
How much? I guess is the next question that comes to mind. Like, when I was thinking about it, like, what is the reasonable? Could we look at the Mo Salah, this whole ordeal, like a Coutinho ordeal, where we're like, man, we're selling the only guy that, blah, blah, blah. But then we turn it into two top players. But to do that, it would have to be like 150 or something.
You would, yeah, that's what you would want out of it. Absolutely. I think, realistically, I don't think it would be more than 120, given his age. I don't think it's reasonable to think it'll be higher than that. I think 150 to 200 is a pipe dream. I mean, we should go for that just because. But I think it was maybe last year, you, Bickler, and Galley on one of the Monday shows talking about, maybe it was this summer or leading up to the summer, talking about if an offer came from Mo, how much would you be willing to sell him for? And I think a lot of there were a few comments there. They're saying, if you get 60, 70, 80, 90 for him, like, we would take it. But I think that was before everything got so inflated because of the Saudi league. But even then, I feel like that's the more realistic number I was thinking because of age and that situation.
Yeah, so he says, I mean, yeah, 60. The problem is the age, right? I mean, like you're selling at the age, and it really depends on like if he wants out and stuff like that. Obviously, it's gonna go into that. Yeah, Chris says, I think it's crazy we're actually having this combo because I think this is going to be coming into play very soon over here. Definitely, next summer, this is going to be the Lavia of 2024, if you will. We're going to be talking about it for like weeks because I really think they will come for him. I mean, in some ways, the Saudi thing, especially for a player like Mo, will always be there, right? So he says like Mo Salah being the highest decorated Arabian due to age 100. That sounds about right to me as well, but will you get that money next year? Especially if Mo says, I want to go. By the way, Serzi says the top 5 going to some Champions League. Is that
no? It's still top 4, unless we finish 5th and win Europa.
Ooh. Yeah, I didn't know. Is that like something new that I missed out on? So now
no, there's no change. There's no change.
So if he doesn't, basically we're saying if we're in the Champions League, he's a lot more tempted to stay.
Yes.
And then if we're out of the Champions League, he's like, I mean, is it just me or the Saudi league for a guy like now, like for a guy like Mo? Like initially when Ronaldo is gone and, the first couple of players are gone, they're like, I'm taking my talents to Jeddah or Riyadh or whatever, right? But when Mo is going now or anybody else that's a superstar going over there, it's almost like you're going to this NBA All-Star weekends, but it's a whole freaking year. Kind of a thing it has become, right? Or like this, what is this, like the Legends League or 3-on-3 or whatever they play on the weekends? It's basically something like that it's become, right? So you think the appeal has gone down because now you're not one of, like, you're like the guy going there, you're just one of the guys going there.
You could look at it that way, but you could also look at it on the other side of the coin where there's a little bit more talent spread throughout the league and there's a little bit more I guess it's a more decorated league. It's a more established league. Like, you're not playing with kind of Sunday league players anymore. You're playing with elite football players that have played at the highest level around the world. And so I think you can look at it from the standpoint of maybe I can, at my age, I can still be better than all of these guys, even over here kind of deal. Because for someone who's uber competitive, no matter where you are, you're going to want to be the best competitor at that specific level. I think Mo is one of those guys where he wants to be the best player no matter where he is. So I think if you can take it and think about, oh yeah, it's just like an all-star weekend, but you want to be the best all-star out of all of the all-stars. Like you still want to be the top. And I think that could make it a little bit more fun, perhaps, that there is a little bit of credibility to the challenge if he does well. It's not like, oh, it's a one team league and there's no competition. Now it's like there's a little bit more competition, so it looks a little better.
I guess, yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah, I don't know. This interesting. This thing, see like what Mo would think, or like any other player going. I think Mo is a different situation based on like what like Saidu is saying too, because he already has a ridiculous following as being the most successful, like like air-based player and stuff like that. Chris says I wouldn't be worried about this, but then Hando happened is not making it. And that's the thing. I never thought the Hando would happen. And honestly, I still say if it wasn't for Stevie, I don't think the Saudis would ever come in for Hando. So I still blame Gerard for that whole fiasco, by the way. 24-25 season, teams are being increased from 32 to 36. Type 5 go.
So
that stupid new formation.
So it would be the end of this year?
24-25 would be, yes, because this is 23-24.
Huh. Okay.
I'm going to have to look into this.
Well, hey, better chance of Mo staying. Get another extra spot.
The chances just increased another 20%. Yes.
Woo!
Yeah, we will have our research departments get on this right away while we're on air, but probably not. Okay. We can't even get Dingus FC over here. We sold out, so we can definitely not afford
Sold out. Are you kidding me? I
Oh, I'm sorry. Like, it really,
did.
Dingus FC got up for a new challenge, is what I meant to say. Yes. Speaking of a challenge, and okay, so in some ways, I definitely totally forgot about this game. I'll admit, because when you guys, somebody said something about, nobody wants to see that. No one wants to see that. Everybody wants to see. I don't know how many people want to see this either, but okay. So Arsenal City Community Shield, which I called Charity Shield all day yesterday, I think. I totally forgot that the game was on, first of all, further proving that this is a game that you only care if you're in it and it means something to get the plates. And Said was so happy that Anderson has gone. Man, what a hater. But then when I remembered the game was on, I hate to say it, but I stayed in Al Mazra playing Call of Duty and figured, hey, you know what? Starting next weekend, I'm going to be dedicating my entire weekends. Let this be the last weekend of chilling in front of the PlayStation kind of thing. Did you get to watch the game?
I didn't. No, and I knew that the Community Shield was happening soon, but I didn't realize it was yesterday as well. And then once the messages started coming in the Discord channel, I was like, oh, I don't care. Like, I'm busy. I wasn't, but like, I'm busy. And so I think part of it is I'm still trying to maybe let myself be a little bit more detached from the league and the sport for another couple of days before that's all I think about for 7-8 months. And so I feel like if I just gave myself that extra buffer, that extra day where I just didn't really hone in on it, that I would then feel a little bit more mentally healthy and happy going into next week. But from the looks of everything going on, it doesn't look like it's getting any better. So yeah, we're headed towards that way.
Chris says, I forgot it was even happening. Then I saw someone in a City shirt with a sad face says, forced me to giggle. So here's a question, and Chris is a good question that I want to get to too. But here's the question: is Arteta so annoying that he makes you root for City?
No,
I found myself in that situation yesterday. I was like, this Lego head is so freaking annoying. Like how he celebrated that time.
no, because I like a lot more Arsenal players than I do City players. And I feel like I will look past the Legos to enjoy that team a little bit more. And I think part of it too is for some reason in the early 2010s, when I was playing FIFA, I would use Arsenal a lot. I don't know. I don't remember why. I think I just really liked Andre Arshavin for some reason. And I was like, yeah, this is great. It had him and Fabregas. Yeah, and I was just like, this is so much fun. And for some reason, ever since then, I just have like the softest little spot in my heart for Arsenal. Not like in my heart, I guess. This is pretty blasphemous to say.
In your controller?
Redact everything that I just said. There are players on the Arsenal squad that are more likable than City all around, and that is why I look past Arteta. That is my answer.
Think so, yeah. I find a couple more players more annoying, which Arsenal is working hard at getting there. Maybe when you're like not very good, it's like not as easy to be disliked. True. But when you have Bernardo Silva and stuff like that. But at the same time, this is
I know. That's why as soon as I said that, Chris, you have to understand that I don't know. I have nothing.
It's Monday morning. Leave Mateusz alone.
Damn it. I knew as soon as I said his name. This is 4 goals. That's it. That's all I knew.
I think the squad-wise, yeah, I think City has. But when you compare managers, like comparing, Pep to Arteta, it's almost like no comparison for me in terms of like who I respect more and who's more. I find like Pep a lot more likable, despite causing us so much misery with his wallets kind of a thing. But I find him much more likable and respectable than freaking Arteta and his Lego head. So I literally found myself rooting for City during the penalties, which I literally turned it on. We were eating, so I was like, oh, I think this is still on. And then I got that like crappy deflection goal. I got to see that, and I just watched the penalty kicks and some brutal penalty kicks, by the way. Speaking of FIFA, by the way, totally like off topic over here, but I was playing last week. I played against a dude. His username was YNWA for life with, like LYFE, but he was playing with Real.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've been at the end of my beatings as well several times. But yeah, so I put him to a beating and then I messaged him afterwards because I only message people that I, want to mess with afterwards. He never responded back. I was like, dude, how are you like YNWA for life? And you're going to pick Real to play in seasons mode. It's not even like if, I don't know, you were a Burnley fan or something, Burnley for life, and you're playing with Real, I can be like, you know what? Yeah, because you probably can't compete because everybody picks like PSG and stuff. You're not going to be able to compete. I mean, I managed to kick everybody's butt with Liverpool, so why can't you kind of thing? But yeah, totally off topic. But let's go back to this question already because I thought this was a good one right here. If Mbappe was available on loan for this season, would you let Mo go?
No.
So I guess it depends. What is the scenario here? Like, are we playing an arm and a leg? Are we just giving Mo's wages to Mbappe, but still getting more money?
I guess that's a good clarifying question. But also, locker room wise, with the theatrics and the dramatics that come along with Kylian Mbappe, I think that's why I would say if this was FIFA career mode, all day. Because you don't have to worry about like the real life consequences of any locker room stuff. There's locker room problems in FIFA, but that doesn't really matter. You can just use the controller and play yourself. Are there locker room
problems in FIFA career mode?
Yeah, there's like chemistry stuff, or like players get unhappy. You'll have the 7th string youth guy come in and goes, "Hey coach, we're playing in Man City today. Can I get a start?" And like, no, you can't. Like, what? Why are you even asking? Yeah. And then their morale goes down. You're like, what do you mean? This is ridiculous. One of the things that FIFA career mode need to get patched up. But anyway, I think given what we know about Mbappe, and I'm not gonna say I think he is probably the most skilled footballer in the world overall at the moment. I don't think everything else that goes along with him would be worth it for a year, because I don't think you can get him gelled into the squad enough. I mean, we're talking about just getting a DM, and for the last there's 24 days left in transfer window. We're talking about getting a DM and worry that it's too late to get him in, to get him gelled in. Like, imagine bringing Mbappe right now and trying to get him in. I don't know if it would be the same.
See, I wouldn't be as worried if we were like, man, we need the right-sided winger. Because I feel like it's a lot easier to put in the winger and like work him in and just be like, hey, you can't just play attack anymore, though you got to defend. I mean, I'm assuming you recruit accordingly. So like Diaz, for example, if you get the right guy, but defensive midfield, and this is what like aggravates me, this whole about the Slavia thing. It's like kind of like the brain over there making everything happen. I think with Mbappe thing is, yeah, I would not. I mean, it's weird to say that I would love to see him in a Liverpool uniform, but I also would not on a consistent basis. Because, yeah, it would be fun. But then especially, I mean, I wouldn't be sold on that guy's commitment to the club and to the rest of the squad if he was signed for like a 3-4 year contract, because we see what he's doing in PSG, leave alone for one season loan, because he's going to be like, I guess it's not working. Like, he's just going to show up for Champions League games, I think, and that's going to be it. So I definitely would not. I mean, to answer that question, I would not. If we only sign one more, would you guys want a DM or CB? Oh, definitely DM, because you don't have a DM. I mean, that's the problem. You do not have a DM. If you think Curtis Jones is a DM and that's going to do, you are in a world of hurt. And I think this is what aggravates me the most. And I want to talk about that, like going into the new season now, the excitement level. I mean, we'll talk about the preseason as well, but what is your excitement level at right now from 0 to 10, 10 being, okay, I was going to make a Polish reference, but I'm not going to go there. So 10
Do it, coward.
Uh, I don't know why, but my head went to like a plate of pierogies or something. I have no idea why, but
Sounds
yeah,
fucking
from zero
delicious.
to 10 with a Polish feast, with various pierogies, with a watching Dingus FC. Where are you at?
Um, I think I'm still at a 9 because
In excitement level?
okay, okay, okay. Hold
So
on,
no
these are
pierogies
no,
are
no,
there on the table. Like you're like,
I understand, and I'm scarfing them down as I'm putting on the game against Chelsea with a smile on my face because at the end of the day, the league is back, the team is back. I like it's just I think excitement overall just to have this back in my life is what outweighs what the potential disaster might be for the very beginning. Like eventually, like in a few months, if things go south, I'm gonna look back and go, God, I really wish that I wasn't as excited for this as I was. But at the moment, I'm really excited to just have it back. This is one of the few things I look forward to every week, and just something like I feel like my life revolves around it for better or for worse, right? But that's why I'm excited for it to for it to come back. My excitement level, as far as we're talking about what I expect to happen this season, is probably closer to like a 6.
okay, okay. So
Did I defend myself in a way that's
no, you just gave two different
acceptable?
answers, so there's no way to be wrong, I guess, is there? I think
Listen,
if
you
you
can
kept it ignored, you were gonna say three as well. So you're like one of those three. So I'm like,
you
I
can
know
call
what.
me Schmeichel Senior if you'd like, but I'm happy to answer however I want to answer.
Yeah, I understand the 9 parts, but then Curtis Jones playing DM comes over and knocks over a table, the entire table of pierogies. They're all over the floor. Is what's going to happen? Is what I would worried about.
He's trying to dribble around the pierogies.
I mean, that's me. That's I guess my biggest concern. I feel like we're gonna start watching the season, and I'm excited that the season is starting. It's all like it's a weekend thing, and we're gonna be doing like the pre and post match this year and stuff like that. There's a lot going on the American Scouts Randall things, so I'm looking forward to all that. But I am so afraid that I am going to constantly say, "God damn it, we knew this." And that's what worries me. Over and over again, we're going to be like, God damn it, we knew this. And it has nothing to do with Curtis, because I feel like Curtis is thrown to the wolves in the scenario the way it is. And that's one thing I want to see today when we play against Darmstadt. Do we play with Curtis still there and continue on this experiment, or do we kind of like feel the lineup where maybe McAllister moves there and stuff and say, okay, this is like a Chelsea practice game kind of a deal, at least the first 45. So we'll see that. But that's my biggest fear. We're going to keep seeing it. Kind of like when we were watching Fab and Hendo as center backs. You were still excited to watch the team, but every time something happened, you were like, God damn it, why are we doing this? Like over and
Yeah,
over and over again. And I feel like every time I watch, I'm going to be like, if we signed the dude 2 weeks ago, now we'd have a defensive midfield and we'd be in so much better shape. And I'm going to be even more aggravated as I see McAllister and Szoboszlai doing well, because I'm going to be like, God damn it, we fixed the issues if we only had a defensive midfielder. I guess that's what brings me down to a 6 or 7,
absolutely.
somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
I get that.
Um, Chris says, I love Curtis, but he's an 8 out of 10. He's not a 6 or 8 or a 10. I'm sorry. I thought he was grading him. I thought it was kind of like a Matush kind of grading scheme over here. He's a 6 and an 8 and a 10. You know what I mean? And he gets caught on the ball way too much. And that's the thing. It's not his fault because he plays 6 like he's playing 8. So, like, there is a 6 behind him to come in and sweep things up. But guess what? There isn't. And then, you have a kind of a shaky defensive line behind you at worst. I know everybody's constantly talking about, I'm really worried about this left side. I feel like Van Dijk is a lot better than what he was last year, but man, Robertson has looked brutal. Like every game we've seen him in the preseason. I can't remember a game where I was like, yeah, Robertson is back, kind of a thing. That's kind of like considering. Sida says, Mr. Dingus, I mean, say it while you can, because, once the paperwork is signed, Dingus FC is no longer. From coming up with the entire club, the crest, the jerseys, to just being sold, shows what the Saudi League is doing. He's destroying our sport.
I mean, okay, this isn't fair because
Generational wealth.
I am just here to present the information that's out on the internet. Fabrizio himself said it. I can't do anything about that.
And he did the here we go. If it was just like the rumor
I know
he was reporting, that'd be one thing.
This was one of those like true Liverpool deals where you heard about it for like 2 seconds and it was already done. There was no waiting, there was no back and forth, there was no drama. So I think I'm excited to see what direction the club goes in. I'm sorry I can't be part of it, but at some point you have to know where your talents lie, and it's not owning a club. So I'm sorry,
Maybe
guys.
we'll start another politically incorrect club for like a Turkish club or something like that. So I can sell it and get generational wealth as well. I don't want to. I just want to retire, basically selling it for generational wealth. Okay, Darmstadt later today. What are you looking for in 3.5 hours?
Looking.
The research department really sucks, but I think it's in 3.5 hours.
No, it starts at 1. So yes, you're right. Okay. 1 Central, correct. I am looking for this team not to concede any goals. I think that would be a good sign.
Well, okay, like before I ask that, what do you expect? Do you expect to see like kind of like what I'm envisioning, like a starting 11, or do you expect a kind of like a little mix there, a little mix here?
And that's tough because I feel like this would be the match if you wanted to do a little mix of the kids together with the senior players in the starting 11 and then do another mix in the second half. But maybe Klopp has just kind of been a little upset over the results and how easily the goals have been leaking, that he wants to give maybe his true back line next week, like this go at 45 minutes together to get things taken care of in order. So I think if the Bayern game went differently, more positively defensively, I think we'd see more of a mix. But because it was such a disaster defensively, I think we'll see the back four that we're going to see next week against Chelsea.
Really? You think? I mean, we started with the back four, didn't we? Oh, no, we started with Matip against Bayern?
I'm sorry. Yes. No, so Konate instead of... So whoever the back four is against Chelsea, I think that's who we see today. Is what I mean. Yeah, sorry.
But we started with Matip, aside from the regular top four, I mean, with just Matip instead of Konate, right? Against Bayern? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like the issue, right? It wasn't even like, oh, yeah, we're leaking goals because these guys are not used to playing together. We're just like, no, they are. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. Like, I was going to look back at our like last preseason games in the years past to see what Klopp does traditionally and stuff. And I don't know if he approaches it. I know he probably doesn't care about results, but yeah, you would have to think he would have to look on out and be like, man, that is concerning though. I mean, it's stuff to fix. Or do you want more mistakes out there? Get it out of your system now. See the mistakes so we can kind of say, okay, Curtis, see, you screwed up over here, and make it more and more learning experience for Curtis.
Yeah, or watch to see the mistakes and then every week in the season go, oh, these are the same fucking mistakes in preseason, nothing got fixed. That could be pretty disastrous.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on that too, but I think I would like to see the first 45 minutes of let's see what we have. But is that also a recipe for disaster where you put what we have and Darmstadt takes us to school, scores a couple of goals on them? Where are we at? Oh, the Dingus mascot. Does he know?
She has no idea. She's being shipped to Saudi Arabia tomorrow. Oh, you poor thing.
But I mean, she looks pretty vicious. Are they going to allow him in Saudi Arabia, or?
Surprisingly, you would think a half pit bull, half husky would be banned, but no, she'll be fine.
She'll be fine. She loves the heat. Sider says, without a DM, conceding goals are more pressure are feasible. I mean, is that where we're at basically? With until we get a DM, and I hope to God we are eventually. But until we get a DM, we almost have to expect to outscore people.
Yeah, and it'll make for some exciting 4-3 games, I guess. Who wouldn't want to relive the Spurs game every week from last year? Yeah, I don't know if we could physically make it with our hearts to the end of the season if it was like that every single week. But that's just it's it's really frustrating to see, like you've been saying, we see the problem. It's just why it's not being addressed is just insane to me. I think this should have been taken care of years ago. I think we should have had a natural successor to Fabinho there from at least last year. I think if Lavia was supposed to be the DM, he should have been here last year. I don't care how much he cost at that point. If that is the person in your future, it doesn't matter if they cost 40 at the time or 50 at the time. Right now, they're haggling over a couple $1 million. It seems ridiculous. It seems short-sighted, and it makes it more frustrating because it doesn't have to be this way.
I think that's the deal. Like, it just Sergi says Besetic, which you could have initially, like, going into the season, you probably saw that as well. He's like the natural successor, right? Like, he's going to be the next one up, kind of thing. Be the understudy. But I just don't know how well and how he's going to come back and how soon we're going to see the same guy we were seeing. And Alan says Darmstadt have scored just 3 goals and conceded none in preseason. I think the latter is about to end, but they might also start getting more.
They played one game.
I think here's the thing. I think Sergi was saying, like, who could we possibly buy? I understand and I agree that the price tag for Lavia is high. For a dude who's only 19 and who's only got so many games under his belt, it is a high risk. I just don't understand how, though, you go in and say he's worth 44, but 50, hell no. And then, like, just keep preparing bids. And how long does it take to prepare bids? Aren't you just like whiting out the old numbers and putting in the new numbers? Or am I too old school? Are you just deleting the old numbers and saving a new file? I mean,
so what happens is Klopp and Jorg are sitting in a room, and Klopp goes 10, 20, 30, 40, like, and then 100, 200, 300, all the way. And then at one point, Jorg goes, stop. That's the bid. Send it in. That's why it takes so long. That's the only reason I can think.
I just don't. Yeah, I find that very frustrating that they're like, oh, they're preparing a new bid. Like, it takes like, I mean, I understand the legal aspects, all the conditions of but it's freaking sets. Like, you're just saying, like, how about we do this? Like, you're just sweetening the deal. It's not like you're changing the entire verbiage, I would think. But yeah, that's what's frustrating. And like I say, if you feel that's too expensive, like, Saida says, yeah, it's too expensive, then yeah, why are we then move on and go to the next guy? The problem you've caused yourself now by dragging asses, everybody in the world, including probably Dingus FC by now, know that we need a defensive midfielder. So guess what? Whoever you go and ask, they're going to be like, you know what? He's probably worth 30, 50 for you. You have a pretty face. For you is 50 million kind of thing. Normally he's valued at 30 because everybody knows we need one. And I feel like every time you trot Jones out there and expose that you have this need, it becomes worse. So are we really hurting ourselves by kind of doing that and, experimenting, showing to the whole world, yeah, we don't have one, I guess. So we do this. So how much was he? 50? He is now 55, kind of thing.
And to Sergi's point, or to question about realistically buying.
Yeah, there's a Galatasaray logo in there. Get that shit off.
I know this. People are gonna hate seeing this, but that, or as Sergi just mentioned as well.
That's 25 business. One of these times you're gonna type in a name and it's gonna be like there's another Tyler Adams that's a porn star or something, and we're gonna get all kinds of images that we probably don't want to see. Tyler Adams.
Both of those guys would be combined most likely less than Lavia. They both have Premier League experience, and then it gives you some time if you really want to then have another project like Bicetic or another project like Lavia, because Lavia is not a finished product, to give him a little bit more time to jet into the squad. I don't know. I don't understand why you couldn't take a chance on one of these two, or if not both.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure. I honestly, like I said, we talked about Fred before. I think he catches a lot of flack for not stuff that is not his fault. I think he's like a solid player. If you're playing behind this pressing, I think you're going to see a lot better Fred as a CDM than you were. I think that was like the thing. They brought Casemiro in, and obviously Casemiro is like a top-notch defensive midfielder. But at the same time, when they brought Casemiro in, they kind of like changed a lot of things in front of him. So there was better pressing, better defending, and things like that that made Casemiro look a lot better. I think if Casemiro was playing behind Ronaldo and that gang pressing up top, he will look just as miserable as Fred was looking. So,
Yeah.
Tyler Adams, I'm personally not sold on. I think what happens is when people mention Tyler Adams, especially here, and like anything in like, American Scouser related, like LFC America, US Fan Group and stuff, there is a certain, what you want to call it, bias against them by fans who are not American, because people feel his name is becoming up only because he's American. Is that fair? If Tyler Adams was Norwegian,
English.
would you? Oh yeah, if it was English, he wouldn't be 20 million anyway. So that's for one. But if, let's say, his name, he was Norwegian, would you, as a Polish prince, say, why don't we get this Tyler Adams guy from Leeds? Or would he even be in your, vision?
See, it doesn't even have to be Norwegian. It can be close to Norway. Swedish, I believe. Sanderberg, Sheffield United. There's a name right there. Like that, I would compare the two of them in this sort of situation where, like, if we were linked with Sanderberg, you'd have a lot of people going, "Oh, cool! Like this is the guy that's up and coming from the championship." But because we have a guy that was part of a team that got relegated, I think part of it too, and him being American, I think does paint him in a bad light. And I think there hasn't been the whole Pulisic experience didn't work out, right? Though the McKennie experience didn't work out, and there can be a little bit of I think anxiety around getting an American in, just because it feels like these projects don't work out. But from the little glimpses that we saw sometimes from Tyler Adams, I thought he was more than capable defensive midfielder. He might have tried to do too much, but he never stopped running. He was one of those guys that would run through a brick wall for you. And I think sometimes as a DM, you need that kind of guy back there just to put in a shift every once in a while.
Yeah, see, that's one reason I'm not sold on him. Because Fabinho was not running all over the place. I mean, we don't need it. I mean, Curtis will run all over the place and run through a wall for you if you want. But that's not what, I mean, you're the defense.
No, he's going to fucking try to dribble around the wall before he runs through it.
He'll give that a shot first if he can, and the ball gets the ball. He'll just chase the wall down. Because I don't want somebody that's running around all over the place. I want somebody to stand in front of the back four and make timely interceptions with any counters and recycle the ball back so we can continue attacking. I mean, because I don't want, he's not going to play like the McAllister, Szoboszlai, what we used to have Hendo and, Genie and those guys play. So I want a guy that's more actually calm and collected on the ball. And I think that's the biggest thing with Lavia. But I think somebody was saying it on like Discord a couple of days ago. I think we're setting up Lavia as well, especially for a kid who is known for like being really calm on the ball. He can build from the back and stuff like that. He's going to do those calm passes where people are going to press us. We're going to pass to Alisson. He's going to pass to Lavia, who kind of like shifts it to right or left or whatever. He's going to lose a couple of those balls, and it's going to be more and more pressure on this guy. That's what I mean, he's not even a kid. And that's what I really worry about in that case. But yeah, the Tyler Adams thing, I'm not personally sold. It is a low-cost risk, like Sergi says, so I'm okay with that. But I am not going into the season much more confidence, knowing Tyler Adams is our defensive midfielder, though, I don't think. Because I really think if Tyler Adams was Norwegian, he's not even being talked about. Like, he's not even being brought up. But, who knows? Alan says, if you buy Andre and loan him back to Fluminense until the January window, which do, yeah, why not? I mean, what do we care? I don't think Andre comes here today.
He wouldn't play.
He's not probably starting to January anyway, so might as well bring him in January, lock him up. Jones can't run or tick the boxes. I prefer Andre or Sangare. I mean, we don't know. I don't know anything about Andre. I'm not going to pretend to know much about Andre, and you know what I feel about how I feel about these YouTube clips. So because it always cuts off after he made a pass. So I'm always, the cynic in me says that was a bad pass, wasn't it? That's why you guys cut the freaking like the clip there. But yeah, I don't know much about him. Sangare was another name that we supposedly were interested in, and the price tag works, but there has to be a reason why it didn't happen. I mean, Kone and Thuram we were interested in earlier in the season.
Those
It
were the
was
days.
supposedly we were interested in, it didn't happen. Is it just money? Is it just Klopp being too picky? What do you think?
It's the whole pie. I think so many people are so quick to say, "Oh, it's FSG. Oh, it's Klopp. Oh, it's York." It's every piece of them has a hand in this. If Klopp was more open to more rotation over the last few years, getting some more names and getting some more bodies into play, then you might have had more rotation. You might have had less injury risk. You might have had other players that could come in and then be the successor to the person that was just leaving. FSG, part of it is they have been, while they've been great in resurrecting the club, there have been moments where they've kind of stepped back and like, you know what, we don't really want to make that sort of commitment, that investment right now. And then now with Jorg, we're seeing, like, I don't know if he's just really trying to prove that he can just make a super amazing deal or just like one of those guys that goes in the room is like, you're either paying 44 or we're not going to do any of this, and try to like stamp himself as that sort of figure. And I think all three of these things together have sort of culminated into where we are now. And I think it could have been alleviated over the last couple of years if you just made a couple extra signings and had the rotation, had the flexibility to take risks on more of those $10 to $20 million type of buys. I think we didn't have enough of those. When you think back to Robertson, he was what, $7-8 million.
Yeah.
You need to take, and that's why I'm not obsessed with Tyler Adams coming here, but if Tyler Adams comes over for 20, Fred comes over for 15, that's just 35 million. That's to take a stab at trying to make something work back there. I don't think it's a terrible investment, unless compared to spending 50 for someone like Lavia and not knowing, like, if this project works really well, that's great. But if it doesn't work well, like you said, he's a kid. He starts getting turned on by the press, by whatever, like that could really break him down really quick. And then we're back to square one.
Yeah, Sidus says our problems with FSG's poor financing, clubs overuse of players due to poor depth. See, that's the problem, though. I don't think it's due to poor depth. Even when we've had depth, it's been the same guys playing over and over.
Yeah, he didn't rotate.
Plays them to death, I think. But no, I agree, and I really thought with this sporting director, his strength more being finding, diamonds in the rough. That maybe they're like, you know what, you want 50 for Lavia, we're out of here, and saying, okay, we're just gonna go get somebody else. We're just going to get. I don't know, like I know this German kids in the Bundesliga that nobody else knows or whatever. Like, like we'll get this other kid who's like 22 or something like that. And, he can do a job or something like that, or a huge potential. I really thought there would be something like that. There would be a couple of those, I thought, this summer. And that was the whole point of, I thought, bringing this guy over. It was almost like you were hiring a scout at the same time. And it did not happen. Brian from work says, we always had a bit squad. I think a problem in the past is our club won't force a player to leave unless he truly has written them off. Unfortunately, last season. I mean, yeah, there's like a lot of examples, right? We can just spend the next half hour giving examples of players that we probably kept way too long and we did not force out, or we don't take a loss. We were like, you know what, whatever, cut our losses short. Yeah. Only 10, that's fine. Like Keita, you were not get 10 earlier or get nothing now, and he didn't play in between, so you got freaking nothing for it. You could have just sold him for like 10 and a bag of peanuts and we'd be in good shape. Doesn't make sense to invest money in a player who's only a year older than Basset's just a relative. I'm proven.
This is the thing we do as fans. We have these rose-tinted glasses that makes us think that our younger prospects are much better than they are. I love Bajcetic. I think he can be a great player. I think he showed moments where he was fantastic last year. But we also have no idea how he's going to come back from the injury. We have no idea how he's going to develop. And from specifically just last year's standpoint in the Premier League, Lavia played much, much better than Bajcetic overall. And he has the numbers to back that up too. And while I think I would love Bajcetic to be part of the team, part of the future, you can't bank on that either. you're still taking the same risk, whether it's Lavia or Bajcetic. You still don't have a DM.
I think if he was healthy, I would be like, okay, like we're kind of like rolling the dice and like what we did with Trent back in the day, right? Like they must know something. We're rolling the. I think the fact that he's coming from injury is what scares me. It's almost like saying, I think it's the same mistake we made, like relying on Ox and Keita and stuff as midfield depth. And I think that's what the issue is. If he was healthy, I think if he was coming from a healthy season, he finished last season, even though he came back the last couple of games or something like that, I think I'd be a lot more confident and say, let's see what the kid can do, be a bit more positive about it. I'm just more worried because it's the kind of injury that's not easy to come back from. So we don't know what we're going to get, who we're going to get. And now you got two dudes over there, along with Thiago, that are like, oh, yeah, they're back practicing. But you don't know when they're going to be back, how long they're going to be back for, and stuff like that. So I would hate to count them as depth. When you look at a depth chart, if you will, and you have nobody healthy to put in a DM spot, that's naturally a DM, that has to be a concern. And I understand, like, he might not be. I know what Serzi is saying in terms of, like, investing that much money. But if you're okay with investing 44, you should be okay with investing 48 or 50. I guess that's where I'm at. You can't say, it would be one thing if we said 20 or nothing, but you can't go up. You can't say 44. How about 46? And just freaking pay the difference and get the guy in. Because I think here's my concern. And, I hate to be like Debbie Downer over here, but at the end of the season, if you lose Champions League spot again by 3 or 4 points, that's going to buy you the money difference between the much cherished Europa by Polish Prince over here and the Champions League would buy you the entire thing of Lavia and then some. So why mess around and take that risk? Sign the dude that will get you there and get the money anyway. I mean, that's just bad business if you're holding off and something is going to cost you. And if you don't think it's going to cost you, then I think you're very naive and you're putting too much faith in Curtis. And like I say, that's no knock on Curtis. And here's another thing you just did. You just took Curtis, who was having the best run of his like young career, and you put him in a different position than where he was doing it at. So now you're messing probably with his morale, which is what kind of like brought him down when he didn't do well for a while after coming off, like starting off really hot. And you just took a guy who was doing really good in this position and you trying to show him somewhere else where he really doesn't belong, and I highly doubt he wants to play there because you can kind of tell his urges to do Curtis things. I mean, that's his strength. So that's the confusing part. So Lavia might play. If Lavia plays against Gillingham, he did not play the weekend. He did not even come off the bench, unused sub. If he plays, he'll be cup tie. Do we even care about that? Because you would think Bajcetic. I mean, I don't care if Curtis Jones plays defensive mid in the League Cup.
Yeah. As long as Klopp plays someone else in those cup games, I don't give a shit who it is.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way. I mean, there was an article on Echo that was like, oh, it's a huge decision. What will they do? I was like, oh, I don't care what they do, really. I mean, I think the biggest thing was like him not playing this weekend, I really felt was a sign that it was going to be done. Bajcetic has a higher, brighter future at him. I hope so. We hope so. But then we thought the same thing with Kent, who's now at Fenerbahce. We thought the same thing about Wilson. We thought the same thing about Ben Woodburn. I remember people saying, Coutinho, who needs Coutinho? We have Ben Woodburn. So, yeah, I mean, with young players, you got to kind of set the expectations and see, you hope for the best, but it's no guarantee. So, Chelsea game. Your early prediction, since we're not going to be on till next Monday afterwards. Are we going to be happy, or do I have to get a bigger grumpy mug for next Monday?
It's going to be just like we've seen over the last couple of years with Chelsea. It's going to be 0-0.
0-0, huh? I feel like both teams are, especially us defensively, we might. I can see that one being a total flip 2-2, but let's hope for the best. We'll be back tonight. I'll be back with Gally and Bickler. I know Bickler is in a Bickler kind of mode. I don't know where Gally is at with the whole overall thing. So we'll find out from those boys. See overall crabbiness levels. When I'm already crabby, it's not a good sign for the podcast because usually I'm the one that's trying to keep the optimism around. Chelsea without Power DM going for 1-1. Yeah, and that's not good, right? I mean, we feel this is the best time to play Chelsea. Because I think Chelsea is only going to get better throughout the season. This is the best time to play Chelsea, get 3 points from them, and because our people we're battling up against are going to play against a much better Chelsea later on. So Saito says he missed Galley, which is kind of scary because that's not something that you hear very often. But
Are you okay, Saidu? Are you okay?
But yeah, we'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock Central Time. Talk more with the boys, and then we'll talk about the preseason, what we saw, what we didn't see, and all that kind of good stuff. So have a great week, everybody. Keep the hopes up. There's going to be defensive midfield in our future. And rest in peace to Dingus FC, by the way. Yeah, it's a moment of silence. We'll